Well, hello there, art students. Today I'm going to talk about some tools that will help you during the concept stage of your work. Now remember, there are several stages that your production goes through. Concept is the first one, and what that means is coming up with the idea on what you're going to make. Now, a lot of you guys may be taking an art class for the first time. A lot of you guys might be artistic and naturally creative. Those of you who aren't used to creating things that you've never seen before or don't exist, you may find some challenge in coming up with an idea, especially in my class, where I allow you to basically, as long as you meet the objectives, do anything you want. So that's a big plate, a big buffet to select from. So you might be completely overwhelmed with what to do. Hey, that's all right. I get in the same way too. Now sometimes you'll immediately get a spurt of inspiration where you'll be like, oh, I have to do this. It sounds awesome. Other times you'll be in a state where you're like, got to do this assignment. I don't really know what I'm going to do, and so depending on if you're really super motivated and excited for it versus, oh, I just got to do it like a math assignment, the motivated people come up with ideas easier. Now, both of those groups can use these tools, but for you guys who have difficulty getting going, this is a great tool for you. I'm going to share two of them with you. Now, this is just a general standard of when you work. When you work, you have your production materials at your side, everything laid out in front of you while you go. So you'll be doing this for almost every assignment. So just something to get used to. So the first technique is what's called webbing, kind of like Spider-Man webbing. Webbing is a tool used not only with artists but writers as well, coming up with stories. And here's how it works. Let's say, for example, our creature assignment that we're either at right now or is coming up in the future. You have to come up with a creature. Well, here's how webbing works. What you do is you come up with a central idea, and I know that I need to make a creature. That is the project, right? So what we're going to do is we need to find out what our creature is made of. I think my creature needs legs, all right? My creature needs a body and also a head and just miscellaneous extra little things to make it interesting. It's not enough just to make a creature with arms, legs, and a head. That's pretty basic. What you want to do is you want to have something that tells a story about your creature. Does he have battle scars all over him? Is he wearing armor? What's his armor look like? Does it come from a certain age in history? Is it from a certain nationality? Japanese armor and medieval armor, totally different. Is it space age? Is it caveman age? And so on. So little details like that tell the story about your character. So let's come up with some ideas for what the legs are going to look like. And I'm going to come up with at least 4. So he could have lizard legs. And again, I like fantasy. So that's what I'm going to be choosing. You might like something else. You might like westerns. You might like real stuff. You might like historical fiction, World War II things. Who knows? It's up to you. What about another one? What kind of legs here? Tentacles. Feline. Okay, and all these little satellites here, legs, body, head, miscellaneous, they all connect to the central piece, just like a creature would in a sense. And it's just to help you guide those things together. So a body, what kind of body? Well, I'm thinking I like dragons. And if it's a creature that doesn't exist, it needs to have things that we wouldn't probably recognize. How about scrap? It's made of a whole bunch of pieces of scrap from a junkyard all fused together. That'd be cool. How about a puffy body, like it's just a little ball of fluff? How about a bug, insect body? And you know what we can do? We can even get more specific here. Let's take scrap and come up with 2 different ideas of types of scrap. How about utilities? Like he's made out of like washers and dryers and ovens and stuff. Okay, how about cars? Made out of scrap car metal. That'd be kind of cool. All right, now let's talk head. Let's see, how about robot? Now if I've laid just enough stuff down, that can give me fuel to feed off of. The idea is to get as much on paper as you possibly can, not necessarily just get 2 or 3 things and I'm done and then move on to the rest. That's not going to have any creativity in your work, and you're not going to receive craftsmanship for your grade if it's just really generic. So throw as many ideas on the paper as you can to get the juices going, to get you inspired, to get you going creative. Miscellaneous. What are some things that flesh the character out, make it look interesting, make it, something other than just some mishmash of different attributes from different animals? Well, I said one thing earlier. How about battle scars? Tells a story. Let's see. Name? Come up with a name for it. Accessories? How about accessories? That would be like paraphernalia that they wear, jewelry, clothes, that kind of thing. Okay, let's see. How about miscellaneous? How about he has an energy aura about him? Wings, and so on. So you kind of get the idea. You would do this for a story as well. You'd have like the title of the book in the middle. You'd have like main characters and things that they go through, how they interact, and you might even connect certain satellites to each other. For example, maybe the legs happen to be connected to miscellaneous over here somehow. Maybe it's connected by the fact that they're all welded together. Who knows? All right, well, that's one brainstorming technique. Here's another one where it appeals to the visual side. After all, it's all well and good to have, something written out on paper in letters and words to help us come up with ideas, but how do we actually arrange those ideas on the paper in such a way that it's interesting? So here's what I'm going to teach you. This is a technique called thumbnail sketches. Now, thumbnails are going to be a requirement for every future assignment. So whether you're going to be doing like a still life that you're looking at something in front of you to draw, or coming up with something creative out of nothing, then you'll need to have blueprints or plans in advance of how that's going to take place. And thumbnails are just to play around with the alignment and the arrangement and of the total composition, where all the elements go within the piece. So let's make a couple of thumbnails. Thumbnails are small sketches, and the box that the sketch is contained within represents the shape of your paper. So if you have rectangular paper, your thumbnail sketches will be rectangular. And that's just to give you a blank canvas to draw on. So we're going to make a creature, and let's say we're going to make a dragon-like creature. So I want to imagine, how am I going to fit him on the canvas? Because if we were to say zoom into your drawing paper right here, and you wanted to make a creature, and you did a dragon, and it looked like this, and you have all this extra paper untouched and unused, it's going to be a failed project. You'll be lucky to get anywhere near a D on that. You want to use all of your supplies, fill that sucker up, shoot for something that's reputable, worthy of being shown. So when you're working, strive for filling out your composition. So let's see, I could do a dragon where I've got, say, my head looking right over here. He's like, rah, notice I'm just pre-drawing shapes, and it's nothing fancy, I'm just messing around. And his neck curling up. And here's a composition technique. If you're going to make an image, connect it so it touches the edges of your paper. We call that points of contact. Have at least 4 points of contact in a piece to make it interesting. So we have his neck over here. I could have his body over here. Maybe a big claw right here. Another claw. Like, he's going to come up and grab you. Leg and tail. That could be one composition, and you can see he's touching all the edges. So that forces you to scale the image up so it fits on the paper. All right, let's take another look at another dragon. How about flying? There, 4 points of contact. That would be a place to put our dragon and make it interesting. Let's say we're not doing a dragon, but how about like a junkyard monster coming up at us? So if we've got like a big old thing that's made out of a whole bunch of different parts of cars and junkyard stuff, let's make it interesting. Rather than have just something like this in the middle of your page, give it composition. Here would be its head. Maybe its head is made out of the nose of a car, and there are the headlights right there. And maybe here's another part of its body, like it's bending down to reach over and grab us. Belly, and here's one leg, and here's another leg right in our face. It's got like a car for a foot. And heck, just for kicks, let's have a person running away. So that would be a good way to plot out your composition. One of the principles of design is called movement, and you'll learn that in class, and that's just a composition technique. Where does your eye travel over the piece? And in this case, our eye will travel from the corner down, like an S curve. And the more curvy your line is, the more dynamic your composition. So another thing to think about when you're making thumbnail sketches. So what you do is you would be given a sheet of paper at the beginning of your assignment. You'd have 1 day to do this. And what you would do is you would fill this whole sheet up with all sorts of thumbnail sketches. You'll have to work very, very quickly in order to do this. But what you do, you'd be shooting anywhere, if we got 4 at the top, you'd be looking at between 10 to 14 thumbnail sketches. To plan out your composition. All these different ways to juggle how you're going to arrange your piece. And once you're happy with one of them, you'll put a check mark by it. That's the one that you'll use. You'll have your thumbnail sketches out as you work on your composition, and you'll be referring to that. Now, this is not the same thing as pre-drawing. This is just a small little sketch that you'll have on the side. That'll help you when you pre-draw and lay in your basic forms. Concept stage generally takes about a day You'll be given one day in class to do the concept stage, such as webbing and thumbnail sketches, to brainstorm. It's not the same as the pre-production stage, because that's where you're actually working on the canvas and putting all your pre-drawing in, all of your basic forms, your roughing and your general shapes. That can take about 2, and then after that, so you're looking at about 3 days before you get into the total deep meat of the project, where you're actually doing the drawing, adding the shading, the value, the detail, and cleanup, and so on. So it's a step-by-step progression. And so what do you do if you end up on, say, your 3rd thumbnail sketch and you're like, oh, I really like this one? Well, the purpose is not only to help you find a great composition. The purpose is to teach you how to juggle and how to get the idea of composing your piece in different ways, juggling those elements. So it's not enough just to say, oh, hey, I found it in the 4th one. It's so that you learn that I have you make so many. So you might find one you like at the 4th one. You might find one you like even more at the 14th one. So fill that page up. Thumbnails are generally a couple of inches by an inch in size. You know, they're nothing that you invest much time into. For example, I had a student who spent 3 days on his thumbnail sketches. He had 2 thumbnails, and he made sure they were perfect little works of art. Not what you want to do. You want to have these suckers, or the rapid fire, get one done in like 60 seconds, move on, get yourself in a flow, so you're bam, 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 in a decent rhythm. Fill that paper up, and if you're 1 inch by 3 inches, you'll be cramming between 10 to 14 different thumbnail sketches into this piece of paper. So one day to do it. If you're slower, naturally, you'll take it home in order to stay on pace. Anyway, so that's a quick little demo on thumbnails and webbing. Hope that helps. Make sure to use them, and your work will shine, and you will pass. Hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in class. Bye.